In this world of endless knowledge, ambition, and comparison, many chase the idea of being the smartest person in the room. They want to master fields, gain titles, leave marks. But true mastery, as we say in the Shaolin tradition, begins not with conquering others, but with understanding the self. Let me offer you 5 habits, not tricks, that act as a hack, not to manipulate, not to deceive, but to elevate. These are the habits of inner intelligence. They will help you move deeper into mastery of any field, and more importantly, they will help you outsmart the one opponent that never rests, your own ignorance. Before you can outsmart anyone or master any field, you must learn to return to emptiness every day. This might sound like a paradox. In a world where everyone wants to accumulate more knowledge, more titles, more validation, why would someone speak of emptiness as a way to mastery? But this is where true intelligence begins. Not from fullness, but from space. Space to grow. Just like a cup that is already full cannot hold fresh tea, a mind that is too crowded with opinions cannot receive new insights. The idea of emptiness is not about losing everything or knowing nothing. It is about being open. It is about letting go of attachment to what you think you know so that you can learn what you truly need. Most people walk through life trying to confirm what they already believe. They listen not to understand, but to reply. They read to reinforce their image, not to expand their mind. When your mind is always busy proving itself right, there is no space left to explore what could be more right. A wise person doesn't fear being wrong. A wise person embraces not knowing, because it is the beginning of knowing something deeper. Imagine starting each day like the first time you ever saw the world. You open your eyes and you do not assume, you do not judge, you do not categorize, you simply see. You allow the experience to arrive as it is, without forcing it to fit into your past knowledge. That is what it means to return to emptiness. It is a choice you make, not once in a lifetime, but every morning when you rise and every moment you begin something new. This habit is not passive. It requires strength. It requires humility. It takes courage to admit that the mind has limits. It takes discipline to quiet the inner voice that says, I already know this. And it takes patience to sit with the unknown without rushing to fill the silence. But those who can do this become dangerous in the most beautiful way, not dangerous through manipulation or pride, dangerous through clarity, dangerous because they are no longer predictable. Their learning never stops. Their insight keeps evolving. Their vision remains fresh, while others are stuck in repetition. Emptiness allows for adaptation. In every field, science, business, art, martial arts, those who rise to the top are not necessarily the ones who memorize the most. They are the ones who respond with fluidity. They observe what is changing. They feel what is emerging. They adjust not from fear but from awareness. And that awareness is born from an empty space within that listens deeply and watches without interference. When you return to emptiness, you also stop comparing. You stop looking at others and trying to be better than them. Instead, you begin to look at yourself and ask how much more you can refine. This takes the competition out of your mind and replaces it with cultivation. You are no longer pulled by ego, you are drawn by purpose. The effort becomes cleaner, the results become deeper, the journey becomes lighter. Even in relationships, returning to emptiness creates room for connection. You stop projecting onto others. You start hearing what they are truly saying. You stop entering conversations as a role or identity and start entering them as presence. This allows for genuine learning between people. It builds bridges. It fosters mutual growth. And this also is part of mastery, for no field is mastered alone. Greatness always grows in connection with others. So how do you build this habit in a world that constantly wants to fill your mind with noise, distraction, and pressure to prove yourself? You begin with silence. Just a few minutes every morning. Sit without agenda. Breathe without a goal. Let the thoughts come and go, but do not follow them. Just watch. This trains your mind to be still and clear. Over time, that clarity becomes your default state. You begin to carry it into your work, your learning, your daily choices. Next, read with humility. Pick up books not to appear wise, but to question yourself. Read authors who challenge your views, not those who agree with you. Seek teachers who give you friction, not comfort. This way you keep your mental space alive and dynamic. You begin to enjoy learning again like a child, not because you need to, but because you are naturally drawn to wonder. Finally, pause often, between tasks, between conversations, between thoughts. Pause, even for one breath. This micro-emptiness resets your mind. It stops the momentum of reaction and brings you back to reflection. This is where wisdom speaks. In the space between doing and being. In the silence between knowing and asking. Ideas come to you more clearly. Problems reveal their own solutions. People feel more at ease around you. And most importantly, you begin to feel a deep inner peace. Not because everything is perfect, but because you are no longer fighting the moment. You are simply meeting it with full attention. So remember, mastery is not accumulation, it is alignment. It is returning again and again to the place where your mind is free from clutter, your vision is wide, and your heart is open. That place is emptiness, and in emptiness you find the intelligence to outsmart anyone, not by being clever, but by being clear, not by dominating, but by understanding, not by proving, but by listening. Begin with this one habit and the rest will follow naturally. Desire is fast and impatient, while discipline is calm and consistent. And when it comes to mastery and intelligence, true power always favors the one who can stay the course, rather than the one who simply starts strong. In every field, from martial arts to science, from business to creative work, it is not the most talented who rises highest, but the most disciplined, the one who shows up again and again, especially when the mind says stop, especially when no one is watching, especially when it feels pointless in the moment, but they continue because they have decided that the path itself is worth it. Desire will tempt you every day. It whispers promises of shortcuts, quick wins, instant knowledge. It makes you believe that the goal is all that matters, and once you reach it, you will be free. But true freedom is found in discipline, because with discipline you are no longer a servant to moods or moments. You are steady, you are unmoved. Your focus becomes like the mountain, silent, clear, immovable. Many people start a journey with energy. They feel excited, they set big goals, they make plans. But excitement fades, and desire always looks for the next thing. A new distraction, a different teacher, a faster result. And so they jump from path to path, never finishing what they begin, never going deep enough to uncover real mastery. They stay on the surface, always appearing busy but rarely transforming. To outsmart others, you do not need to run faster. You need to move with rhythm. Like water flowing over rock, you carve depth through repetition. Day by day, hour by hour, task by task. When you do this, you separate yourself not by luck or brilliance, but by your ability to stay engaged long after others have given up. Discipline is not harsh. It is not punishment. It is care. It is attention. It is the way of someone who respects their goal enough to walk toward it every day without complaint. In the Shaolin tradition, every movement is practiced again and again, not to impress, but to refine. We do not change forms quickly. We do not chase the next skill before mastering the last. We stay, we work, we repeat, and only then the body begins to understand, the mind becomes sharper, and the spirit grows quiet. This same principle applies to mastering anything. If you are learning a language, read and listen every single day, even if it is for just 10 minutes. Not because you feel like it, but because that is what builds the mental pathways needed for fluency. If you are building a business, do one task each day that moves it forward. No need to wait for motivation. You are not led by feeling. You are led by decision. And this decision must be made fresh every day. It is not something you declare once and then forget. It is a quiet agreement between you and your higher self. You wake up, you return to the goal, and you ask, how do I serve this today? That is discipline. Serving the goal without needing applause, without needing results right now, without needing external reward. Just the act itself is enough, because you know what it leads to. Some may say this sounds boring, repetitive, but only when you view it from the surface. Go deeper and you will see there is beauty in repetition, there is insight in routine. When you do the same thing again and again, you begin to notice details others miss. You feel the subtleties, you catch the small shifts. What looks ordinary to others becomes extraordinary to you. This is how true intelligence sharpens itself, not by doing more, but by doing better. And when others around you are chasing speed, when they are distracted by urgency and overwhelmed by options, you remain calm. You are not pulled by noise. You have trained your mind to focus, and this focus gives you an edge. You solve problems faster because your mind is clear. You make decisions with confidence because you are grounded. You build trust because people can feel your consistency. They see you show up day after day, not with chaos but with calm, not with drama but with direction. This kind of steadiness is rare, and because it is rare, it is powerful. It is attractive. People begin to rely on you. Opportunities begin to find you. Mastery begins to grow inside you, not because of talent or luck, but because you made a choice to be consistent, to commit, to be disciplined. So how do you build this habit? First, make your actions small but daily. Do not aim for perfect, aim for presence. Choose one task that serves your goal and do it, even if you feel tired, bored, or uninspired. Second, create a space and time each day where this task lives, protected. This is your sacred practice. Third, remove the need for reward. Do not wait for praise, do not wait for proof, just act. Let the act be enough. Over time, the act becomes identity. You no longer have to force yourself because you have become the kind of person who trains, who studies, who builds, who shows up. And this is the highest form of intelligence, not just to know what to do, but to do it again and again until it becomes part of who you are. There is no secret formula, no hidden hack, just the quiet work done daily. And in that quiet something grows. Strength, clarity, purpose. When desire fades, discipline remains. And when others fall away distracted by urgency, you are still there, moving forward step by step, breath by breath. So when the world offers you shortcuts, when your mind asks for ease, return to your path. Remind yourself that discipline is not a prison, it is the practice of freedom. And in that practice, you do not just master a skill, you begin to master yourself. And that is when you truly begin to rise. To truly understand anything or anyone, you must observe without judgment, and this is one of the rarest habits in the world. People are not taught to observe, they are taught to react, to label, to place things into categories, good, bad, right, wrong, strong, weak. From the moment something enters the mind, it is quickly judged. This is how most people live, and this is why most people struggle to grow beyond their pattern, because judgment closes the door to understanding, while observation opens it. If you wish to master a field, if you wish to become intelligent, not just in knowledge but in wisdom, you must train your eyes and your mind to see clearly. And clear seeing does not come from speed, it comes from stillness, from a quiet mind that does not rush to decide, a mind that pauses and allows life to unfold before it. In this pause, you begin to notice what others miss. You begin to sense the hidden structure behind events. the energy behind words, the truth behind behavior. To observe without judgment is to become free. When you are not bound by instant reactions, you can make choices based on awareness rather than emotion. You can navigate conflict without being consumed by anger. You can learn from mistakes without being drowned in shame. You can receive feedback without needing to defend yourself. And this is where intelligence begins to deepen. In the Shaolin path, the first lesson is to watch, to stand, to breathe, to be still. Before the movement there is awareness. Before the strike there is perception. Before the answer there is silence. Without this, everything is noise. Without this, even the right action becomes the wrong one because it comes from a cloudy mind. So we practice watching. Every emotion is a signal, every thought is a messenger, but if you judge them too quickly, you will never hear what they are saying. This is especially important in relationships. When someone speaks, do you really hear them, or do you prepare your reply while they are talking? When someone makes a mistake, do you seek to understand why, or do you jump to blame? Most conflicts are not caused by what happened, but by how it was interpreted. And most interpretations are distorted by judgment. So if you wish to become wise with people, you must learn to observe them as they are, not as you assume them to be. This habit also transforms learning. When you read something, do not rush to agree or disagree. Sit with it. Let the idea live in your mind for a while. Ask what it means, not just what it says. Reflect on it as if it were a mirror. Even if you do not accept it, see if it reveals something about your own beliefs. Every concept, every perspective has a lesson, but only the quiet mind can receive it. Now some will say observation without judgment is weak, that it means being passive or slow to act. But the truth is the opposite. It is the reactive person who is controlled by everything around them. It is the still person who chooses with precision. A mind trained in observation sees danger before it arrives, sees opportunity before it disappears, sees patterns where others see chaos, and this is what makes it powerful. Imagine walking into a room and seeing every detail, the way people sit, the way they breathe, the energy between them. Imagine reading a book and noticing not just what is said, but what is not said. Imagine practicing your skill and catching the smallest flaw in your form. This level of awareness comes only when judgment steps aside and presence steps forward. Spend time each day in quiet observation, not to meditate or achieve anything, but just to see. Sit in a room. Watch the trees move. Listen to your breath. Notice the thoughts that come and go. Do not chase them. Do not push them away. Just see. Next, practice pausing before reacting. When someone speaks, count a breath before answering. When you feel anger or frustration, pause before acting. In this space of pause, you are no longer a slave to emotion. You are a student of reality. And slowly this pause becomes your strength. Also observe your judgments, not to eliminate them completely, but to see how often they rise without truth. Watch how quickly your mind decides who is wrong, who is weak, who is foolish. Then ask yourself, is this helping me understand, or is this just feeding my ego? This reflection cuts through illusion and brings you closer to clarity. Over time, you begin to see everything as part of a larger movement. The failures are not ends, they are teachers. The difficult people are not enemies, they are mirrors. The chaos is not punishment, it is training. This way of seeing makes you not just smart but wise, not just informed but aware. You become calm in situations that used to overwhelm you. You become patient in moments that used to frustrate you. And this patience allows you to move with precision while others move with panic. To observe without judgment is to return to emptiness, to let go of needing to define everything, to trust that understanding grows best in silence. And this silence is not the absence of thought. It is the space where thought can land without being broken. It is the field where insight blooms. Those who master this habit carry a presence that others feel. People speak more openly around them. They trust them because they feel seen, not labeled. They feel heard, not managed. And this builds connections that are deeper than words. It creates spaces where growth becomes possible. So if you seek to master a field or outsmart others, start by watching, not by speaking. Start by listening, not by deciding. Train your mind to stay open to reality as it is, and in that openness you will discover something rare. A vision that is wide enough to hold truth and steady enough to act on it when the time comes. And that is where clarity becomes your advantage and awareness becomes your power. What you consume, you become. And this is not just about food. It is about everything that enters your system, through the senses, your eyes, your ears, your thoughts, your environment. Most people do not realize how much they are shaped by what surrounds them, and they go through life without guarding the input that enters their mind. But just like your body becomes what you eat, your mind becomes what it absorbs. If you fill it with noise, it becomes noisy. If you feed it with depth, it becomes deep. Intelligence is not only about thinking clearly, it is about choosing wisely what to think about in the first place. In the Shaolin tradition, there is great care placed on what you allow to enter your space. Not just physically, but energetically. The books you read, the conversations you engage in, the thoughts you repeat to yourself, all of these shape your inner world. And your inner world determines the clarity of your actions. If you wish to master any field, you must first master your internal environment. And that mastery begins by protecting your mind from unnecessary clutter. People today are overwhelmed not because life is difficult, but because their attention is scattered. They scroll for hours not realizing each image, each video, each word they take in is a form of consumption, and what is consumed is never neutral. It either brings you closer to your path or takes you further away from it. The mind cannot remain untouched. It is shaped by every detail it holds. And once shaped, it begins to shape your future. So if you want to rise above others, if you want to develop intelligence that feels effortless, you must become ruthless in your selection. Do not let just anything enter your mental space. Be intentional, be aware. Ask yourself every day, what am I feeding my mind and what is it turning me into? Just like a warrior trains the body with discipline, an intelligent person trains the mind with awareness. And that awareness includes what you read, what you watch, who you spend time with, and what you say to yourself when no one else is listening. The fastest way to sharpen the mind is to surround it with sharp things. Read texts that challenge you. Listen to teachers who stretch your thinking. Speak with people who are not afraid to tell you the truth. Do not hide in comfort. Growth never comes from echo chambers. Intelligence grows through contrast, through friction, through thoughtful disagreement. That is how insight is born. But also be careful not to overdose on information. Some people consume so much they become mentally bloated. They read all day, watch all night, fill their heads with facts and opinions, but cannot act with clarity, because the mind has no space left. Like a cup that is overfilled, it spills and nothing useful remains. So the habit is not just about consuming good things, but also about creating mental space between consumption, time to digest, time to reflect, time to let the wisdom settle. Create moments of silence each day where nothing enters. No screen, no sound, no conversation, just you and your breath and the world as it is. In that stillness, the things you have taken in can settle and transform into insight. This is how information becomes wisdom. Not through speed, but through depth. Not through volume, but through presence. What you listen to shapes what you say. What you say shapes what you believe. What you believe shapes how you act. So every piece of content, every voice, every influence you allow in is part of your training. There is no neutral moment. Every input is either strengthening your mind or weakening it, either supporting your path or distracting you from it. That is why in Shaolin we say, your environment is your first teacher. If it is chaotic, your mind becomes restless. If it is clean and intentional, your mind becomes focused. So clean your space, simplify your digital life, remove sources of noise that do not serve you. Follow fewer people, but follow those who live with depth. Read fewer books, but read those that change you. Speak less, but speak with meaning. Also be mindful of inner consumption, the thoughts you repeat again and again. If you keep telling yourself, I am not good enough, I will never understand, I am always behind, then your mind begins to believe it. And belief is a powerful force. It shapes how you show up in the world. So train your inner voice to be like a wise teacher, not a fearful critic. Speak to yourself the way a mentor would, with clarity and compassion, with truth and strength. Choose one idea each day and reflect on it. Write it down, turn it in your mind, let it become part of your thinking pattern. This is mental nutrition. One strong thought is better than 1,000 empty words. Over time, this builds a core of clarity inside you. You begin to recognize what is worth your attention and what is not. You waste less time chasing distraction and spend more time building direction. People who master consumption master themselves. They are not pulled by every trend. They are not lost in the endless sea of information. They are grounded. They are selective. And because they are selective, they are strong. They protect their energy. They invest their time with purpose. They learn faster not because they rush, but because they focus. And that focus is the result of clean input. So if you want to rise in any field, if you want to outsmart others, not with tricks but with truth, begin by choosing your input wisely. Let your mind be a temple, not a marketplace. Let your attention be a flame, not a storm. And over time you will find that intelligence is not something you chase, it is something you cultivate from the inside out. And that is when your thinking becomes power and your presence becomes rare. To go far in any direction, you must go deep within first. And this is the path most overlooked because it is the path that offers no applause at the beginning. In the world, people are taught to look outward, to chase results, to compete, to perform, but the one who moves from within walks a different road. A road that appears slow on the surface, but underneath it builds something unshakable. And that is the habit of stillness. The ability to listen to your inner world and draw strength, clarity, and direction from it, even when everything around you is uncertain. Most people do not know themselves. They know their roles, their titles, their opinions, but they do not know the silence beneath all that. So when the world shakes, they shake with it. When pressure comes, they collapse. When plans fail, they panic, because they never learned how to sit with themselves, how to return to the source, how to be steady without needing anything outside to feel okay. But this is what makes someone truly intelligent, not how much they know, but how still they can remain when others are restless. Stillness is not the absence of action, it is the presence of awareness. It is when your mind becomes spacious and your breath becomes your anchor. It is when you stop fighting the moment and begin to feel it completely. In that feeling you see clearly what needs to be done, not what fear wants, not what ego demands, but what truth requires. This is why the greatest masters in every field carry a sense of calm with them, because they do not move from noise, they move from knowing. When you are still, you can hear the quiet voice beneath all the mental noise, the voice that does not shout but guides. It says, not now, or go, or let go, or keep going. And this voice is the one that has no agenda except alignment. It does not care about success or failure. It cares about whether your steps are true. And when your steps are true, results follow, not as something to chase, but as something that naturally arises from the right direction. This habit is not easy to build because the world values speed and reaction. But intelligence is not about reacting fast, it is about responding wisely. And wise response can only come from a still center. So if you want to master a field or outsmart anyone, stop chasing and start listening, not to others first but to your own inner world. The fears you avoid, the questions you ignore, the patterns you repeat, these are your real teachers, and they reveal themselves only in silence. In the Shaolin path we begin each day with breath. Before the movement comes the pause, before the learning comes the listening. Because only a still mind can learn deeply. A mind that is agitated will only collect information, not insight. It will memorize words but miss the meaning. It will act fast but without direction. And this is how many people fail, not because they lack talent, but because they lack alignment. Stillness is the ground from which clarity grows. You may study every book and practice every method, but without stillness, your efforts are scattered. Like shooting arrows in every direction without knowing the target. But when you are still, you can see the target clearly, and even one arrow becomes enough. That is the power of inner alignment. It turns less into more and silence into strength. So how do you build this habit? Start small. Sit in silence for a few minutes each day, not to control the mind, but to watch it, not to achieve anything, but to return to yourself. Let the thoughts come, let them go. Do not follow, do not fight, just sit. This alone will begin to reset your nervous system and calm the mental storm. Then bring stillness into your daily movements, walk slowly without distraction, eat without rushing, speak with intention, work with presence. These are all forms of moving meditation. They train the mind to remain centered even in activity, and this centeredness is your power, because when others are lost in hurry and overwhelmed, you remain steady. When pressure rises, you do not break. When confusion spreads, you stay clear. Also take time to reflect. Each day ask yourself, what did I learn? What did I feel? What am I avoiding? These questions are doors into deeper awareness. And the more you ask them, the more you begin to understand yourself. And once you understand yourself, you stop being fooled by surface appearances. You begin to see through things. You become hard to deceive and easy to trust, because people can feel when someone lives from truth. Stillness also connects you to something beyond logic, to intuition, to wisdom that cannot be explained but can be felt. And this is often where the greatest intelligence lies, in the quiet insights that rise when the mind is no longer busy, in the sudden knowing that appears when you are not trying to know. These moments are not accidents, they are the fruit of silence. And from this silence comes action that is clean, thought that is focused, presence that is powerful. You do not need to talk much because your energy speaks. You do not need to rush because your timing is aligned. You do not need to prove anything because you are already rooted. This is what separates the master from the beginner. Not just skill, but stillness. Not just motion, but depth. So when you feel lost, return to breath. When you feel pressure, return to pause. When you feel doubt, return to stillness. In that place, everything becomes simple again. You remember who you are, why you started, and where to go next. And that is when your steps begin to carry wisdom and your presence begins to move mountains.